Silvio Napoli. You're the Lucid CEO. That might come as a surprise to some. Non-automotive background. Probably the best place to start is therefore what your approach is going to be. You know, day one, how you see your plan for Lucid.
Yes, thank you. It is indeed a big honor, and I'm extremely excited and ready to take on the challenge. Lucid has been known to make extraordinary products. This month, Lucid was awarded the World Performance Car of the Year prize. Last year, Lucid gained the German Performance Car of the Year award. How's that?
Yeah, the Germans might have had something to say about that.
So the last thing Lucid needs today is someone coming in with a ready-made recipe, looking over the engineers. And arguably some of the ones we have are some of the best in the business.
Right.
I see it otherwise. My job is to come in and to make a sustainable business out of this incredible company. And it starts with people, to your question, Ed. It starts with people. It starts about bringing the team together, making sure that we achieve the same excellency,
right,
the same efficiency, we achieve with our products, with the company.
Can you talk a little bit about the process, who approached who? You know, if to summarize what you're talking about, 2025 was difficult for Lucid, the start of 2026 from an execution standpoint, literally production, the impact of tariffs, policy, that is something you can affect. But, you know, was this your idea or it was the board's idea to go down this path?
Well, it really has been a commonality of views, finding each other. Since leaving my previous position end of last, and exactly 1 year ago, I was in no rush to jump into anything other than something I thought was a worthwhile challenge.
Big project.
And when I was approached for this opportunity, of course I did my due diligence, but I was immediately very excited about the prospect, and then continuing discussion, understanding what the views were from the board. I thought there was a very good match.
Due diligence, what did you find?
Again, a company with extraordinary products, with a technology leadership, with massive potential. And to realize this potential...
challenges you feel are surmountable?
Not only surmountable, but unique also in terms of time in history for this industry, for the automotive industry, for the EV, for what it means in terms of sustainability of automotive transportation. That is unique. It's going to be a lot of hard work, to be clear. A lot of hard work, but one that happens now.
I appreciate this is day one, right? And so in some sense, you've not had a chance to go into the business and get going. But the big moment is midsize platform. You know, will it start in Saudi Arabia? Will it start in the United States? Where did the midsize feature in your conversations with the board, and where have you put it in your list of priorities to start?
I should say it's day one. Day one starts with all of hard work. It starts listening to people, understanding the market, and also talking to our customers. Decisions like the one you say will result in me setting priorities on what to act first.
But you haven't made that decision, clearly.
Day one on the job.
Two big pieces of news. The first, Saudi's public investment fund, already the biggest investor, basically, no, literally increasing its commitment. Why is that important, other than the capital injection? And I guess in that due diligence phase that you did before taking the role, what was your assessment of Lucid's runway and its balance sheet for you to enact the things you want to?
You mentioned due diligence, and discussing with PIF, discussing with the chairman, was an absolutely vital element of my decision-making.
They were involved in your talks to become CEO of Lucid?
We have a chairman of the board who's
right.
from PIF. Of course they were. And again, equally, I was keen to understand their engagement. Today's announcement is a confirmation of their continued support, or their belief in Lucid as a company and in its future. And therefore, absolutely, their role is absolutely key. And they are a very savvy investor. And it is, for Lucid, a competitive advantage to be able to rely on that type of support in a very competitive market.
What did the PIF, the chairman, but the PIF's representatives convey to you on what their priorities are, how they see the to-do list for you at Lucid?
Yeah, this type of discussions, of course, where there was an element of strategic discussion to be now taken further, but the most important element of that was their belief, their willingness to bring on board someone like me with industrial global experience in turning around, in growth, in businesses around the world, combining industrial manufacturing and service and building a brand. We saw it the same way.
We discussed how you don't have any automotive experience, but a moment ago you mentioned customers, talking to customers and getting their input. There's a business line you're taking on, which is the sale of vehicles as robo-taxis to Uber. And Uber is increasing its order, essentially, in terms of units and doubling down its financial investment in the company. What were your early thoughts about that business line? And the question that always comes up is, why does Uber need to invest in Lucid at that level to get this transaction done?
There are many aspects to your excellent question. First of all, the Uber robotaxi Neuro collaboration show another massive market that goes beyond the addressable market that you have today in automotive and EV. That is one that is likely to become even bigger than the EV market today. And not many players are involved. To your second question, why is Uber interested in having their own vehicle? First of all, I look forward to discussing with them directly. Right. But this shows, again, the fact that Uber technology, they're just not looking at any automotive supplier, and in the end, it's a validation of Lucid as a technology leader.
I've been reading about you as discreetly as possible, been asking people about you. You are about discipline, reality in your approach, cost discipline as well. You look at all these projects that Lucid has. Some of them may or may not carry forward, right? At the Investor Day, a prototype of a specific robotaxi design. How much is that on your list to look at the existing plans, existing products, and say, let's just focus on the main thing?
It's very high on the priority. As a matter of fact, I believe deciding what we don't do is going to be as important, if not more, than deciding on what we do. I'm an engineer myself. I can see the excitement engineers experience when given a new challenge. And so our goal will be to channel that excitement in the projects that have the highest return for our shareholders, and then taking them one at a time.
There's always a question when you have a situation like the war in Iran about its impact on the business environment. Now, in this case, Saudi PIF are doubling down on their commitment to Lucid financially. In the region right now, there's a lot of focus on that. That's where the capital comes from, and it's where the capital is being deployed. Saudi Arabia has its own ambitions, of course, with Lucid for capacity. I suppose from the due diligence lens, again, because it's day one, what was your assessment of how Lucid's business is being impacted by the situation in the Gulf and more broadly by macro events of the last 12 months?
We want to build a resilient business.
Right.
Resilient businesses are capable of going through crisis, at the same time finding opportunity in crisis. If you look at what's happening today, yes, it creates uncertainty. At the same time, it also creates opportunity. Look at the fuel price. With fuel prices in the US at over $4 a gallon, that makes the total cost of ownership for EV customers a lot more affordable and a lot more rational, making sense. So navigating this type of crisis by looking at both managing the crisis but seizing the opportunity is what we look at together with the team and with the board.
Silvio, when you and I speak in 1 year's time, what are the metrics by which you would have judged your own performance? What is it you're holding yourself to account on?
First of all, our customers. What will they say about the Lucid cars? And number two, of course, will be the performance of the company.